Hello everyone. I am Himanshi Parmar, and today's my topic is the Madwoman in the Attic, Annette and Antoinette, with the reference of Annette and Antoinette from White Saragossa. And these are my personal informations. And now, first, it is very important to understand that what is the Madwoman in the Attic. So, attic means the cage, and the Madwoman in the Attic is a book. Full title of the book is The Madwoman in the Attic, the Woman Writer and the 19th Century Literature, Literary Imagination. And this is the book by Sandra Gilbert and Susan Gubbard, written in 1979. So the title of this book is taken from Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre, which is about Mr. Rochester and Jane Eyre's love story. And in that novel, we find there is one sequence where first wife of Mr. Rochester, Bertha Mason, came, and and she is secretly locked in the attic apartment, uh, attic apartment of Mr. Rochester. The book is also examining Victorian literature from feminist perspective, that how male-dominated society overpower the women writers, and they influenced women writer. The book is also examine some female writers like Jane Austen, Mary Shelley, Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, George Eliot, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Christina Rossetti, and Emily Dickinson. uh, so here we find that all these women writers are forced to write in one particular manner by all these like male writers, and like they have to portray their female character as either angel or the monster, according to Gilbert and Susan Gubbard. So, and if any woman are going against this mentality, then they have to face several kind of we can say mental torture or some kind of harassment. For that Sander Gilbert and Susan Gubar, writer of this book, are giving example of Virginia Woolf. As Virginia Woolf is said that women writers must kill the aesthetic ideals through which they themselves have been killed into art. So here we can take that Virginia Woolf is also a kind of rebellious kind of writer who later on faced several problems, or we can say mental torture by society, or we can say male dominated literary writing era. So Susan and Sandra also wrote about the anxiety of authorship, which we can connect with the Virginia Woolf's example, that how she faced several mental torture, and later on she just committed suicide and she got madness. So Mad Woman in the Attic, we can also put Virginia Woolf in that category. And also one quote that is given by Sandra and Susan, we connect here, is a life of feminine submission, of contemplative purity, is a life of silence, a life that has no pen and no story, while a life of female rebellion is a significant action, is a life that must be silenced, a life whose monstrous pen tells a terrible story. So this quote we can also connect with the example of Virginia Woolf, and how Virginia Woolf are going against to the this society of male-dominated society, and do something that is uniqueness, bring uniqueness, then from bring uniqueness from the male writers, and how she failed this trauma and all these things that we have considered here. And the another thing is now we are moving further with the Wide Saragossa Sea. So Wide Saragossa Sea is a prequel of Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is, as I told before, that love story between Mr. Rochester and Jane Eyre, and in that we find that sequence of Bertha, and how. So Wide Saragossa Sea is particularly focusing on Bertha's character and revolving around that the character of Bertha, that how she got mad. And White Saragossa is well known, is written by Jean Rice, written in 1966, and the novel was originally published in 1966 only. The major characters of this novel are Rochester, Christophine, Daniel Cosway, Antoinette Cosway, and Annette Cosway. And now I have taken two examples, two female characters who are the mad woman in the attic in the novel. So the first I have taken is Annette Cosway, who is the mother of our female protagonist Antoinette, and uh, she was not a mad from beginning, but later on, because of several reasons, she got mad, and that reason I have taken here, that how she got mad, and she has forced to be in the house under the we can say under the supervision of servants. So first she was happy with her family, but later on she faced death of his husband, and due to death of his husband she faced several financial poor financial condition or financial problems. So she has to marry with Mr. Masun, who is very rich person. And after marrying with Mr. Masun, she is not so happy because they have unhappy relationship. She got ignorance from Mr. Masun. She got no love for Mr. Masun, and because of all these, we can say reasons, she somewhere started facing that mental trauma, or we can say pe- psychological psychological disorders. And when her son Perry was died in the accident where when some black people set fire on her house, Annette's house, and in that Perry was burned out, and she saw that her son is burning out, and that thing affect her so so affect her so um, uh, widely, and she got mad. Now after getting married, she has forced by her husband, or we can say the society, to forced her to be in her own house, in the cage, or we can say in the attic, under the supervision of servants. But she is not happy, she is not got that fair, we can say fair justice. After being mad, she got abused by servants. So we find that Annette is a somewhere a mad woman in the attic in the novel. The another one is Antoinette, our female protagonist. She is happy, jolly, and but lonely girl in the beginning of the novel. And why she is lonely, so that we came to know by this dialogue from White Saragossa. And the dialogue is, there is no looking glass here, and I don't know what I am like now. I remember watching myself brush my hair, and how my eyes looked back at me. The girl I saw was myself, yet not quite myself. Long ago, when I was a child and very lonely, I tried to kiss her, but the glass was between us, hard, cold, misted over with my breath. Now they have taken everything away. What am I doing in this place? And who am I? So from childhood we find that she has several kind of loneliness, because she didn't get that family attachment or family environment. As her mother, we find that she is mad, and she has stepfather, so she never get that love. So she, from beginning, she is lonely, and she also witnessed abusement of her mother. As I have mentioned, that her mother Annette was abused by servant, and and this Antoinette became witness of that. And after that, she has sent to the hostel, and when she came back, she has forced to marry, arranged marriage with Mr. Rochester, a gentleman of England, who is, we can say, why she has forced to marry Mr. Rochester. There is a story, because that Victorian mentality is coming again here. We can say that that woman is not able to handle her own lots of fortune, so she has to dependent or rely on men. That mentality is overpowering there. So she has forced to marry Mr. Rochester, and she married Mr. Rochester for the sake of security of her fortune and for herself. And after the marriage, she Mr. Rochester, uh, like we can say, time and again started doubting her, that when Mr. Rochester came to know that, okay, her mother was also mad, then she also started doubting on Antoinette, that must, if the mother is mad, then must be the daughter should will be will be made. So as mother as daughter, that thing he started thinking of, and he implied the identity of Bertha. He started calling Bertha to Antoinette. So Antoinette is rebelling that and saying that Bertha is not my name. You are trying to make me into someone else, calling me by another name. I know that's obey too. Now we see that Antoinette is not mad, but the madness is implied by Rochester, and he also started abusing and ignoring Antoinette, and also he betrayed Antoinette and make physical relationship with a black girl. So this loneliness and all this betrayal and all these things are lead Antoinette towards the hallucination and later on the madness. Then Rochester took him back to the England and locked her in the attic of his palace, or we can say his home, under the surveillance of maid whose name is Graceful. And there we find that she was not mad, but that that madness was implied by Rochester, and then now she is becoming mad. And then we find at the last part of the novel we find that she set fire in the house and she died. And before setting the fire, she write that I will write my name in the fire red, Antoinette Masson, Nee Causeway, Mount Clavery Convent, Spanish Town, Jamaica, 1839. So we find that how she is describing her different perspective, different identities, that what identities she got. Now I want to relate it with present time. In present time we also find that there are lot many criminals are there in the jail, but if we deeply go into the story of them, we find that many of them are harassed, or we can say mental or psychologically tortured by the family or by the society. On because of that torture, because of that, we can say that mental trauma, they committed that crime. So they are, in a sense, if we see that they are not criminals, but they are criminals because their psychology are working in that form. For here we can also take example of movie Provoked, that was by Aishwarya Rai. And in that movie we find that how Aishwarya Rai forced by her husband to be in the house, or to not to do what, even she want to do something, she was denied by the husband if husband doesn't like. And at the end, that mental trauma or mental psychological disorder overpower her, and she tried to burn her husband, or we can say burned or killed her husband. So that thing we find that relevance with here, that same way that how Antoinette and Annette are got mad, she is also got psychologically disorder. Now literary relevance, so I have taken two examples, Ophelia and the Spicola. So the first Ophelia from the Ophelia is the female protagonist of Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare. And in the she was a girl who is mainly dependent on, we can say, male around her. So we find that, like, she has no vision, she has no clear vision, that she herself are saying in the novel Hamlet, in the drama Hamlet, that I do not know, my lord, what I should think. She is telling to her father. So we find that she has no clear vision. From beginning she started being mad. Then there are several incidents like her father's death by her lover. So that thing also lead her towards that mental trauma, or we can say also she was abandoned by her lover. So Ophelia's madness is mainly driven by loss of male influence in her life. And for that, Heather Brown says that Ophelia is Polonius Pound, Lear's chess sister, and Hamlet's lover. Once these male influence are removed and this description no longer define Ophelia, she loses her identity and become mad. So we find that what here attic is not just cage, but attic has a much wider meaning. For Ophelia, the attic is like male patriarchy, and we can say that her reliance on that male, that she is nothing, without the her father or her lover. So that mentality is at it itself ethic for Ophelia, and at the end Ophelia is died in madness. And now the second I have take second character I have taken is a Piccola. Piccola is the female protagonist of Bluest Eye novel by Toni Morrison. So Piccola is a 11-year poor black girl who is mainly believing that she is ugly, and if she has blue eyes then she would be beautiful. So in Piccola's character, we also find that she didn't get that family environment same as Antoinette. She didn't get any family environment because her father and mother both are mostly quarreling with each other, and like we can say they are just fighting with each other. So that mentally disturbed her. Also she was, we can say, abused by her father, distrusted by her mother. This we can know that when Piccola's father abused her and she was lying in the floor, her mother didn't even believe that okay, this father are done this thing with her. Or even if she is believed that okay, the my husband is doing something wrong with my daughter, then even she is not accepting that thing. So we find that she was distrusted, and all mostly in the novel she was called nasty little black bitch by his mother. So that all that mentally disturbed her. Also she was harassed by friend as she was blamed to kill cat, or we can say dog, and other way they are harassing Piccola. And also she get pregnant by her own father. So that by her own father, and also that after getting pregnant she gave birth to the child, and the child unfortunately died. So that all things are lead her towards madness. And she started believing, after getting mad, she started believing that she has blue eyes now. And here we find that ethic is nothing but a patriarchal society or white mentality. That she has that white mentality that if I was born as white, if I was born with blue eyes, I my fortune will be good. So that she never able to came out of that white mentality. So here ethic for Piccola is white mentality, and we can say white attraction. So these are my citations, and thank you. Antoinette and Annette, both the characters we can consider as a symbolically we can consider as the typical Victorian woman who are dependent on male, or we can say are not able to rebel against the men. So when we can find that husband of Annette died, then she has no choice. She has poor financial conditions. So what she choose? She is not choose to go out and to job, or we can say anything that is give him that some fortune, but she choose to marry a rich man. So that thing we find that Victorian mentality there. Also in Antoinette's character, we find that when this Antoinette has large fortune by her father, rich father. So she is not choose to live by herself to in lavish life. She is not choose to live lavish life. But what she did is she used to marry Mr. Rochester for the sake of we can say stability or security of that. So symbolically, they both women are describing the Victorian mentality of woman.
Yes, so my question is that there was the when this wolf and Joan Rice they were writing at that time there was a struggle kind of anxiety of authorship. So at that time, can you still you can find in contemporary time that struggle in
Yeah.
feminine discourse or in any other discourse.
So now, if we see that at that time they have authorship anxiety of authorship, mainly women are facing anxiety of authorship at that time. But in present time, we find that we have different kind of anxiety. We have anxiety of, like, we can say political writing, or we can say left and right wing anxieties. And the another thing, another anxieties which we have is, like, we have religious anxieties. Like, if we are writing something, we all are aware about this writer Salman Rushdie's fatwa. So how they are, it is working here. It is not for male or woman here. Now it is for all, generalizing it. And how now, what is anxiety? It is religion, or it is, we can say, the politics or other things.